Thank you all. And before we start, and before I introduce this very important webinar, I would like, first of all, to give a few minutes to see that people join, and then we will start. And I'm happy to finally get to see you all. I've been reading a lot about your projects, and I'm happy that at least we can get to see each other, even though it's virtually, but hopefully maybe in the future we could, meet somewhere. So I'm not sure. I'll be checking to see the participants numbers, and then we can start immediately once we get to a certain number. So since we have just an hour, and I think there's a lot of very interesting things to discuss today, I think we would just give about 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, and then we'll start. I can see that the numbers are slowly increasing. I'll quickly share. Clinton is here.
Hi, Anthony.
Perfect. Hi, Clinton.
Hello.
It seems we've met somewhere. I just can't picture. Was it in Dubai at COP28? Were you at COP28?
No, maybe I have one of those faces, Anthony.
Okay.
I was not at COP28, so
Okay.
I was not there.
All right, welcome.
Thank you. Thank
We're
you.
a
Nice
bit
to meet
worried. We're a bit worried that you might not be able to make it on time, but it's good you're here.
you. No, I'm here. Hi,
All
Daniela.
right.
Hi, Patricia. Hi, Hannah.
Hi,
Hey,
Clinton.
Khiusha. Oh, so many friends.
Hello, hello.
Hey,
All right. So I think we will give like 2 more minutes. We'll give like 2 more minutes. Unfortunately, that's eating into the time you would have to share your presentations, but let's just see if we get a few more people and we'll move. And I can see some people already beginning to engage in the chat. Hello, Bola. And I can see, yeah. Okay. So another minute and then we'll start. Okay, this feels a bit like a minute of silence. It's not supposed to be a minute of silence. So I think we can start. It's 5 minutes past 3. And so we have 55 minutes exactly. And so I'd like to welcome everyone. First of all, the panelists and those of you online who have joined us for this very important webinar, the Center Networking Friday. And this webinar, it came at a time when I am so stuck in a lot of stuff and I couldn't really find time to do anything else, but I couldn't give up the opportunity, especially when I saw that Africa was being elevated. And I was also very happy to see that it's all young people, you know. So it's the future of Africa we are celebrating here today. And I just can't wait to see how this unfolds until the end. And so this Networking Friday today is a special one, which introduces TECA and the Africa Blue Wave. And I mean, we've been caught up, me especially, I've been caught up in looking at problems. Ocean has problems, the climate has problems, people have problems, but we tend to forget solutions. And so when I got introduced to what you guys are doing, and I'm like, there's solutions. There are people out there doing stuff to solve these problems. And so I'm so excited to be a part of this and to introduce you all and learn a lot from what you guys have to share today. And I hope that the audience will also get to learn a lot and get to engage with you today and in the future, because that's what matters. That it doesn't end here, but we move into the future and move Africa one step ahead from where we currently are. All right, so in order not to take too much time, I am Anthony, former coordinator of ECOP Africa. Currently, I'm working in the UK, in Plymouth precisely, as a freelance consultant. So I develop digital applications for environmental sustainability. So basically, I was working at PML, Plymouth Marine Laboratory, and I left that to start something which is more looking into solutions. That's why I'm excited about what you guys are doing. And so today I'll be moderating this webinar. And we have a very compact webinar with very little time. And so I'll rush straight into the agenda for today. But before that, I'll give you a few housekeeping rules. We have maximum 10 minutes per speaker. The first speaker will have 15 minutes. And so we have to make sure that we keep a very strict time and not exceed the 10 minutes so that we have time for discussion afterwards. All right, so I will start. So the first speaker would definitely be introducing the TECA program. And that would be Anna, who would tell us a little bit about TECA. And Anna, the floor is yours. You have 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. It's lovely to hear that we're all somewhat within the same space. You know, it's climate and environmental sustainability is still quite niche, you know. I'm actually pursuing a master's in global development challenges, and your area of expertise is one of our focus areas. So very interesting to hear that. Joined with me today are three fantastic founders who I'll speak on towards the end, and they'll also have the opportunity to take the floor and tell you a little more about their entrepreneurial ventures. Allow me to share a few slides just to give you a better picture of what the TECA program is. So this first slide is me, as you can see. So I'm Hannah Eskinder, and I'm the program manager of TECA. And TECA stands for Triggering Exponential Climate Action. I have quite the varied background, all the way from entrepreneurship, similar to these fantastic founders here. And I also have history in program management and also history in the nonprofit space. I will be the one introducing the TECA program and telling you a little more about what it has to offer. So I'll begin by giving some sort of segue. and not to emphasize the problems that there are that keep emanating from climate change, like Anthony mentioned, but it's always good to have some context. So we all know the devastating impacts of climate change, extreme temperatures, unpredictable weather, and shifting seasons that disrupt lives across the continent. A young woman or man is working on a solution to keep their community adapt and thriving. TECA exists to support that person, to take their idea, passion, and grit from zero to launch. TECA supports these early climate innovators with funding, mentorship, networks to help them test and scale their solutions. As you can see here in this slide, how TECA is structured is our founders go through an initial rigorous program where they receive a partial stipend, and they're undergoing different skill sets and masterclasses to help them and equip them with a lot of entrepreneurial skills that they need to continue to nurture as they get into establishing their startups. So aside from the initial stipend and the classes that we do during the program, we also fund companies. So in this particular wave, which is called the Africa Blue Wave and Region Wave, and I'll delve into that a bit more later, they did receive 55K in funding. This is 55K USD, and it's a split between venture building services, because BFA Global does have a varied skill set of consultants that cover all the way from design to tech to user research, and we provide these services to the founders as they're establishing their companies. And also we expose them to investors, community support, and we offer some sort of feedback loop where they have someone who comes in as what you would call an interim co-founder. So the venture builder could be a technical expert who has like tech background, or it could be someone with research background, coaching, etc., etc. I shall now return to the metrics slide. So far, we've supported about 100 individuals across 12 African countries and invested nearly $1 million across those 17 startups. These ventures are tackling challenges and building stronger, more sustainable economies. Some of our founders are here with us today. Like I mentioned, we have Daniela, who is the co-founder of Mada. We have Clinton, who is the founder of Samaking, and we have Khiusha, who is the co-founder of Bassile. As you can see in this map, the variation of where the countries sit is quite vast. So Clinton himself is based here in Nairobi, Kenya, like myself. We have Khiusha, who's based towards the bottom at Mozambique. And far to the bottom right, we have Daniela, who is based in Madagascar. But beyond even just the three of them, we have a portfolio of companies that spread all across Africa. So we have portfolio companies in Rwanda. We have one portfolio company in Egypt called Carboni. We have a portfolio company in Nigeria called Junkyard. We also have a few other portfolio companies spread across the continent. So we're very Africa forward, and that's usually part of the requirement to get into the program, that you have to be African first and want to build a venture within Africa. So you may be wondering, even beyond what I've just shared, what TECA is and what the general TECA thesis looks like. TECA supports young African founders, like I've mentioned, and we have three key elements that we tend to prioritize during our program. And I'll trying to whip up that slide. And those three elements are talent, ecosystem, and capital. We tend to know that this is one of the riskiest stages of investment, which is the earliest stage, all the way from venture launching, way before a lot of these companies are ready for equity. It might be different for some, but others, the models need to be reiterated, because some join the program already having been established and are a little further along, and others come to establish their companies during the program. So talent, TECA invests in the founders. So we invest in grit, we invest in potential, we invest in knowledge. So we like to invest in strong founders because we know that solutions continue to iterate, they continue to change over time. But when you invest in a founder, they're going to continue to carry that vision regardless of how it converts over time. We also know that a lot of programs out there offer a lot of support in terms of knowledge, but not a lot of offer money. And honestly, when you're getting a company off the ground, you can't do it without money. You can't do it with, what do we say here in Nairobi? Good vibes and inshallah. You can't do it with like the best wishes. You have to give them actual money to test out these products, to go into the market and do user research, to formulate these prototypes, to even have a sustainable form of living for themselves while they're continuing to push these solutions. So those are the three pillars that TECA is founded on. And as you can see here, we have about 100 founders that we've supported. And a good picture of TECA is that we're very inclusive. So we have a very forward gender lens. And during our program, we've had almost a fixed 50% female representation. It actually shifts between those who join during the fellowship and progress into the becoming a founder and receiving follow-on funding, but it always stays within that range. It's intentional, yes, but it also usually is based on the quality of the applications that we receive. And as we know, the conversation is constantly ongoing on how a lot of businesses and a lot of accelerators and venture launchers should have this gender lens in place. So just to make sure that we have an equitable table and giving everybody a fighting chance to be visible and to be seen. I think now I will move into the role of venture launchers in Africa. So as you can see in this sheet, TECA falls relatively early in the whole VC private equity space, the whole investment space. That's because we work with a lot of companies to bring the ideas from inception to incorporation and developing their MVP. Within BFA Global, we're trying to create a funnel that is giving different founders at different stages opportunities to access capital, access venture building support, and also just access catalytic ecosystems. So as you can see here, TECA falls at the earliest stage. We have a program that's about to come out that's focused on renewable energy. That's called Climacy. And on the farther end, you can see Catalyst Fund, who invest in further stage companies. So TECA invests in the riskiest stage. We engage founders at this very high risk, but also very high potential moment to provide the coaching, funding, and launch support they need. Our focus of our work focuses on helping these entrepreneurs build minimum viable products, test and refine these ideas, and helps them make these solutions stronger and have a stronger problem solution fit. So programs like TECA today, like I mentioned, we're a venture launcher, because they invest at the riskiest stage when founders are still shaping their vision and building their dreams. We provide this early catalytic support that is needed to move them from ideation to traction. And that actually helps us help these fantastic founders turn these promising ideas into viable climate businesses. It's especially important in areas of climate resilience and adaptation, where innovation remains scarce. Investing early and intentionally, TECA strengthens the innovation pool, serving climate vulnerable communities, and helps ensure local talent and so leads the solutions. So lastly, I want to walk you through the Africa Blue region and regenerative and blue wave, the Africa Blue Wave and regenerative wave, which is the wave, the cohort where Clinton, Daniela, and Khiusha fell under. I have a few pictures here. Actually, most of them are not present here in this room because I knew that they wouldn't have the opportunity to speak about their solutions. But I wanted to spotlight this cohort. Give me one moment. Which has just completed their venture building journey through two exciting tracks, the Africa Blue Wave and the Africa Region Wave. This cohort was internally coined within BFA, the turquoise wave, blending the blue of the ocean innovation and the green of the regenerative solutions. So this reflects TECA's commitment to supporting climate-smart entrepreneurship across coastal community systems and agricultural land and restoration spaces. So through this wave, we've supported startups working in critical sectors, including sustainable fisheries, alternative biodegradable hygiene products, food preservation innovation, farmer produce offtake solutions, and renewable energy credits and more. And as you can see on the screen, these are some of them, and also inclusive of some companies from our previous waves. So why the ocean and region? It's essential for our climate future, yet it still remains vastly underfunded and vastly under-innovated. We could co-create solutions with these local entrepreneurs, linking science to market-ready innovation, offer patient capital and pilot funding, and facilitate platforms for learning and visibility like this particular forum, which we have right now, that's making a lot of people know a lot more about the solutions that are being developed and what goes into the founders making these things come to life. And with that, I'm actually not sure how much time I've spent, but I think I've come at the end. I'm thrilled to hand over the floor to the three remarkable founders who've been part of this journey. They represent passion, creativity, and determination across the TECA community. As they share their stories, I encourage you to listen to the problems they're solving and the support that has helped shape their journeys and their vision for a more resilient future. Anthony, I'll hand it over to you, so that you can kick it off.
Thank you very much, Anna. And that was quite exciting. And thanks for keeping your time. It's perfect. I'll say that TECA is really making waves in Africa. And I don't know if I live under a rock because I didn't know about TECA until recently. And anyway, that gives me the opportunity to introduce Clinton, who will tell us about the Africa Blue Wave. Go ahead, Clinton. The floor is yours.
Hello, thank you very much, Anthony. Let me just share my screen. Yeah, but actually, as I share my screen, I can tell you a bit about myself. So my name is Clinton Obura. I'm Kenyan, born and bred. Grew up in Kenya. Specifically grew up next to Lake Victoria. So I come from a community where the main economic activity of my community is fishing, right? So from a really young age, I ate a lot of fish. I also saw a lot of fish. I also saw a lot of people who are not successful with fish, right? So when I grew up, as this thing happened, I got a career in a completely different world in high tech. So working with a couple of global tech players like Google and Uber, and then 10, 11 years into that role, into the tech world, I was like, this is completely disconnected from my reality back home, right? So I was really keen to come back home and do something exciting back home. So I came back to Kenya and I've been looking for something to do for quite a while. So I think my sort of like journey with TECA was very serendipitous, in the sense that I was already exploring my idea. And then I guess sort of like, if you could say, TECA was the air beneath my wings that really just sort of like helped at a time when I really needed that support to get my venture off the ground. So let me tell you a bit about Samaking. So at Samaking, our mission is, how do we make the fish the #1 protein on every African plate? And this fish should be sourced sustainably from thriving fish farmers and fisherfolk. So if you look at the macro view, specifically in Kenya, where which is our first market, we see like a couple of problems. The biggest sort of like glaring thing is that there's a massive supply-demand gap for fish, right? There's a massive demand, and about a 580,000 metric ton deficit in Kenya alone. And this is caused by multiple things, right? So one is regional wild fish stocks are overfished and volumes have stagnated. And when I say wild fish stocks in Kenya and also Uganda and Tanzania, most of this fish comes from Lake Victoria, right? Because obviously Lake Victoria is the second largest freshwater lake in the world. So it's a massive, massive resource. At the same time as Lake Victoria is overfished, aquaculture is still capex and opex heavy for local communities. So these communities who used to depend on fishing now need to make a pivot to aquaculture, but it's still prohibitive for them to get into aquaculture, right? And then at the same time, when we look at per capita fish consumption in Kenya, which is actually one of the lowest, it's at 4.7 compared to an Africa average of 10 and a world average of 20. And then finally, We also see that frozen fish supply chains are non-existent. Thus, most fish is sold locally around the point of origin and never really goes any further than the point of origin. So if you're to break down like the key sort of like challenges you see across the board, the first one, like I mentioned, is this unsustainable fishing and farming practices. The second one is limited cold chain, so underinvestment in cold chain infrastructure that can support the current and future production. Number three is this unreliable market linkage, so lack of consistent and dependable offtake, which prevents farmers and fisherfolk from investing in expansion, plus also makes them ineligible to qualify for credit. Then the last one is sort of like this chicken and egg problem, which is, poor fish distribution, which has led to low per capita fish consumption, but it's almost like what should come first? Is it distribution first or per capita fish consumption? What comes before the other? So that, like I mentioned earlier, has led to quite a low per capita fish consumption. So what do we envision sort of like for the whole fish value chain? The first thing is we believe in sustainable practices. So we believe that to make fish the number one protein on African plates, we need to change the way we produce fish and better align people, planet, and profit. Number two is cold chain management. So we help to co-finance centralized cold chain infrastructure with groups of farmers and fisherfolk in a hub and spoke model, which is a necessity to deliver great products to market. Number three is aggregation guaranteed offtake. We buy all the fish that the farmers that we partner with have produced at a fair and transparent price, which is really important because if we want them to increase their production, we need to guarantee them that what they're producing now we can offtake completely. And then the final thing is sales and marketing innovation. So we are leveraging existing sales channels, also building new ones where necessary to drive more fish consumption through B2B as well as B2B2C through a franchising model that I'll speak about in a bit. So what have we been able to do so far? So essentially our first phase, which TECA was very supportive through our phase one, was that we started with demand in retail to build the market and understand consumers. So we built 2 tech-enabled shops in Nairobi, when we were expanding that to 9 in 2025. Those 2 shops in 2024 were able to drive about $40,000 in annualized revenue and acquired about 1,830 customers, and we are operationally profitable in our first store. And the reason why we started with the retail angle was it really puts you really close to the customer and you really get to know qualitatively what are the things that matter to customers, which is really important if we want to drive more fish consumption at the consumer level. Phase 2, which is where we are at right now, we're now sort of like backward integrating. So one of our big bets as a company is we started first by understanding the demand side, and then we're now working our way back to supply, which is very contrarian because obviously most, as you probably know, most companies start first by aggregating the produce and finding markets for it. But we thought the opposite actually made a lot more sense. Understand demand and then work your way back to supply. So we are now partnering with fish farmers, groups of fish farmers and fisherfolk to aggregate their produce, as well as also opening up B2B channels. So we essentially only work with groups of farmers and fisherfolk and basically offer them offtake agreements. And essentially we're trying to grow significantly this year to unlock by the end of this year in December 2025. We're talking about about $1.2 million in annual recurring revenue by the end of this year. And then in phase 3, which is Q4 of 2025 going onwards, we are really big on franchising of the Samaking brand. So why franchising? We don't want to build all of this infrastructure ourselves, right? There were existing players in the market where those could be middlemen who are traders, whether those who are fish traders, or as we call them, mama samakis, which are the informal fish traders. We want to work with all of these people in an equitable model where we, instead of disrupting, we're big fans of augmenting and partnering with them. And with all of this, we're going to be raising $1 million seed round, which we're planning for the H1 of 2025 to enable all of this. So this is sort of like how our solution platform looks like at sort of like a snapshot level. So on the farthest end, which we started with, was like the sales channels, trying to understand the sales channels that we would sell fish through. So B2B to C through our franchise shops, B2B and export. Also looking at distribution centers, retail distribution centers to distribute that fish, looking at transport, and also on this farthest end, the aggregation platform. So it's not just enough to offtake produce from a farmer. Do you know that farmer's identity? Can you also partner with input partners to provide inputs to that partner? Can you also partner with credit partners to do the same? And also training and technical assistance. So how can we bring together this sort of like ecosystem of services and products that these farmers need to be successful? And yeah, I'll not talk about the market size. I'll maybe just talk about the impact. Obviously, for us, this is a trifecta of impact. We see it from a climate perspective. Obviously, the carbon footprint of fish is quite low. But number two, also from a nutrition standpoint, because Africa, the African continent, has a massive protein deficit across the continent. So we need to produce more cheaper protein for the masses. And then finally, we're also really big on the livelihoods impact that this can have as well, not only for the farmers, but also on the farthest end for the fish retailers in markets all over Kenya, East Africa, and the larger African continent. Yeah, thank you very much. And join us to revolutionize the fish and aquaculture sector. That's it from Clinton and Samaking. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you very much, Clinton. That was exciting. I think I would have to schedule a meeting with you to hear more. It was too short.
Definitely.
Just that's amazing what you're doing. And I think TECA is really making waves. And Clinton, I can see where you're coming from. The tech background, and then the mind to innovate, and then the heart for sustainability. All of that put together has led to this amazing project. And I think more people have to hear about this. And so we have to find a way to really get this out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Before we would get to the discussion where we'll definitely there will be a lot of questions. So, but before that, we would go directly to our next speaker who will talk to us about sustainable nature-based solutions for urban infrastructure, and that is Khiusha. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm having a little bit of internet issues, so Patricia will be sharing my presentation. Patricia, whenever you are ready, I'm just gonna start introducing myself. I am Khiusha Uaila. I'm co-founder and CEO of Bassile. I graduated in Brazil in architecture and urbanism, and I have a master's degree in climate action applied to this field. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. And I am excited to share a bit of our work. But before that, I always like to start telling you a bit of my family. My sister-in-law, who lives at Bairro Ferroviário, which is a flood-prone neighborhood here in Mozambique, in Maputo specifically. And whenever there's heavy rains during the rainy season here, she always faces a lot of flooding that compromises her mobility, health, and safety. But then during the dry seasons, her water supply is often restricted. I'm forgetting to say to move forward. This was supposed to be a video, but because it's a PDF, we move along. Patricia, for the next, please. This is not just something that happens in low-income neighborhoods. This is a photo of the city business district, and it's also recurrently flooding. Next, please. As well as in high-income neighborhoods, where even new neighborhoods are expanding, but still we have this recurrent problem. Me, myself, I'm speaking here in a rainy day with no water in my tap, for example. Next, please. So at Bassile, we address this. We address the flooding, the stagnant water, and the stormwater pollution that negatively impacts communities, as well as the lack of access to water. And it also impacts aquatic ecosystems. This happens because in our cities, we have a lack of adequate drainage infrastructure, and rapid urbanization expands the impervious surfaces, and this raises volumes runoff. And additionally, with the problems that we have in our cities with waste management, the solid waste ends up in the drainage channels, and they either block the system, compromising its efficiency, or they go straight to the water bodies towards which this drainage flows, impacting negatively these aquatic ecosystems. And with climate change, the rain patterns are altering and extreme weather events are intensifying, so this gets even worse. Next, please. So, for example, here in Mozambique, we have rainy seasons that can last up to 6 months, and they cause major damaging impacts. Last rainy season, this is 2023-2024 rainy season, caused major damaging impacts, affected 96,000 people in Maputo alone. And considering that in the country we have around 60% of the people living in flood risk areas, this translates into major damages in the whole country. Next, please. So Bassile works with stormwater management drainage systems. This is we try to use a completely different approach than the conventional solutions, which look at water as a problem to be quickly removed from the city. And what we see from these solutions is that they can be robust. They are usually built out of cement, a highly pollutant material that alone contributes to 8% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. And they don't filter runoff pollution. And as well, they often function as a centralized system with tertiary channels flowing into secondary channels that flow into a primary one. So whenever there's a heavy rain, so a large volume of water in a short period of time, this functions as a funnel, and then flooding happens. Next, please. So we at Bassile, we work with sustainable drainage systems, or SUDS, always also known as low impact developments, especially in the US. And what this means, this addresses drainage in a decentralized way, managing water where it falls, and not managing quantity, but also quality of water. These solutions are nature-based solutions that fall under the umbrella of green infrastructure and blue infrastructure. And what they try to do is to restore and emulate water's natural cycle, maximizing the benefits of drainage, not just controlling volume runoff and also preventing and treating pollution, but also creating spaces, green spaces with quality for communities to benefit from, and also creating habitat opportunities to support biodiversity. Next, please. So there are several examples of sustainable drainage systems that can vary from permeable pavement to rain garden, to wetlands, to rotation basins. But we at Bassile, we are focusing currently on two complementary solutions that operate in two different dimensions. The bioswale, which is a linear vegetated channel that manages rainwater in the urban scale, and the SUDS planter box that does a similar job, but at the building level. Next. They both operate through bioretention, which is a process that in which plants, roots, soil, and gravel retain pollutants and filter water as it passes through the system. Next. So the bioswale is this linear drainage channel that uses specific plants and layers of specific soils to manage and filter runoff. This is something that exists for quite a few decades now. But we innovate by repurposing solid waste to increase pore space within the system and boost the capacity to temporarily store water. And it basically acts like an underground sponge that stores water below ground instead of having it pooling on the surface street. And we are focusing this project for housing and commercial developments, municipalities, and aid institutions that invest in urban infrastructure. And we not only design at a cost of $840 per linear meter, but we also aim to maintain this so that we ensure its sustainability. And then the planter box is, sorry, next. Yes, so the planter box is this complementary solution that targets residential and commercial developments. And it's a planter box that connects to a down pipe that collects water from the roofs of the buildings. And it collects, stores, and filters runoff with different biomaterials such as biochar and zeolite that boost the capacity to filtrate pollutants. And we are still working on the costs, but we are aiming to have it at around $400 per unit. Next. So these solutions, they contribute to climate adaptation, reducing pollution, and building resilience to heavy rains. And they have the potential to mitigate flooding, reducing 30 to 75% of volume runoff, and filtering up to 95% of pollutants. And they also provide ecosystem services such as that are related to the use of vegetation, such as heat island effect reduction and habitat opportunities for biodiversity, as I mentioned before. Next. So what we have achieved so far, thanks to the TECA support and the funding, we have just started testing and analyzing the performance of our first planter box prototype that is built out of galvanized steel and has the capacity to store up to 350 liters of filtered rainwater. And it uses these different components that include the bamboo biochar and substrate made out of recycled organic waste to filter rain water and store. And next, please, sorry. So after testing this planter box in our premises, we will deploy it in different locations, such as the Fundação Carlos Morgado, Kaiapico Library, which is a social project here, and the Dutch embassy, the Irish embassy, if everything goes well, to promote and to gather feedback to further develop the product and to align our market strategy. We also plan to kick off the production of a fiberglass prototype in the coming weeks, and also plan to do it in plastic wood, because the goal is to test different materials and sizes to understand the public demand and the preference, the costs and the logistics of building it, so that we can have this further assessed before starting production and sales. As for the bioswale, we have municipal authorization for the construction of a 3-meter-long prototype in Inhaca through a participatory process that will engage the community. And we have a couple of months with political instability that put this on standby, but we plan to do this by the end of this year. And we also plan to kick off a pilot project here in Maputo, in the neighborhood that my sister-in-law lives, deploying 220 meters of bioswale and 10 planter boxes to launch this pilot project, also involving the community with learning and employment opportunities. To do this, next, please. To do this, our partnerships built so far are critical to support us in project implementation, scalability, and impact. These are some of them. And together we are transforming these innovative ideas into sustainable solutions for communities that have real impact. Next, please. So we so far have ranked top 16 in the global climate launchpad competition. We have secured a €3,000 grant in the Orange Corners program, which is a Dutch initiative. We also have we have received this 55K funding that TECA provided us. That was crucial to develop our prototypes, and we are building partnerships and collaborations so that we can move forward with our next steps. We have a team. Can you please move forward? Yes. Yes, we have a team that has expertise in green infrastructure, business development, environmental studies, and project management. And we are very passionate about what we do. So we are looking forward to have your inputs on what we are doing and hopefully build new partnerships and collaborations so that we can move forward. This is the last slide. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Khiusha. It's amazing what you are doing and the idea of seeing the problem of flooding and not only trying to solve that problem, but transform it into additional solutions. So you have lots of co-benefits along the line. Co-benefits for the society, for the climate, for the environment, and even for the people. So I would reserve my questions for now, but I'll move to the next speaker, and then we'll come to the discussion session afterwards. So we'll go now to Daniela from Madagascar to tell us a little bit about food security and the amazing works which they have been undertaking over there. The floor is yours, Daniela.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Like Khiusha, Patricia will share my presentation too. But I will present myself. I am Daniela. I am the co-founder of Mada. Basically, I am a computer science engineer, but on 2014, I decided to transition my career when I saw the gap between those fishers and the customers in the capital of Madagascar. I transitioned it like now I have over 10 years experience on blue and green business, blue and green business, and for both for-profit and non-profit sectors. I founded others enterprise on fisheries on 2015, which is via FishUp. It's still working now. And in parallel, I co-found Mada with two other co-founders. So now let's talk about Mada. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, what is Mada? Mada is a fisheries company. We transform the fish. We add value, fresh fish to smoked fish using an innovative techniques which is inspired by Japanese techniques Imono. And by our work, we enhance food security and giving access to protein, supporting local communities, and showcasing the rich food diversity of Madagascar. As you know, Madagascar is a big island, and we have a lot of marine resources. Next slide, please. So, what is the problem we solved? The problem we solve is that we have a lot of fish productions in the fisheries village, but at the end of the day, those fish goes to waste. As like there are some period the fishermen have a lot of fish, and then there is some period they have small fish. So for the period they have big fish, they don't have a reliable market to sell it out. So we transform these extra productions of fish, like I told before, to a dried and smoked fish, and we give access to the market to those community by selling their product with the tourists and then with the people in the middle of Madagascar in and. So, what is the problem we solve? The problem we solve is that we have a lot of fish productions in the fisheries village, but at the end of the day, those fish goes to waste. As like there are some period the fishermen have a lot of fish, and then there is some period they have small fish. So for the period they have big fish, they don't have a reliable market to sell it out. So we transform these extra productions of fish, like I told before, to a dried and smoked fish, and we give access to the market to those community by selling their product with the tourists and then with the people in the middle of Madagascar in and. Can you go next, please? So let me talk more about our solutions. We like how we do it, how we add value, how we give access to the market to the fishers. We have 4 solutions. First, we collaborate with the fishers cooperative. Those fishers have associations or cooperatives or group of fishermen. We collaborate with them. We set a contract, an agreement, a legal agreement to work with them. So we told them all the extra production of fish we can't sell. We took it fresh. But as we know before, how many kgs they can sell locally, and the rest of the kgs they can sell, which is more than they cannot sell. We took it, and then we we took it in our industry in south of Madagascar, in Tuliar and south of Madagascar. We give training to those fishers and to their waves on how to clean the fish, how to cut it and remove all the entry and boot vessel. And then do all the ingredient marinated and all things. And then we do the smoked and red fish. And after that, we transport the fish, the added value fish, to the middle of Madagascar in the center in Antananarivo, and we sell it. So you might told us what is different to the water industry, as there is many industry in Madagascar. First, our techniques. We have like these inspired techniques from Japanese techniques. We have extended shelf life, so we can preserve the fish more times, more periods. And secondly, we work directly with the fishers, so we give extra income for the fishers. And the third, in the customer side, we give access to higher proteins, these proteins, and then we give solutions on the nutrition issues in Madagascar by giving protein source. And next slide, please. So our milestone so far, like Anna said, we are part of the groups who own the 55,000 USD. So thanks to that, we were moved far from last year on September. We created our ventures last September. Before we joined TECA, we don't have yet the idea of Madafia. The 3 of us come with this idea during and after the program where we were in Kenya. And then now we are able to do our first sale in December. Before that, we did testing, we purchased a machine and all of these things. And then we are now finalizing our to purchasing our big machine, 3-ton machines from China. Still under working, but we hope to have it till this end of April. And then for mid-April, Madafia will establish a production facility in Tuliar. We have already a small house, but now we have goals to produce 3 tons per month. Till the end of this year, we will expand the place where we transform our fish. in Tulia, and then by mid of this April, still under work, we will open our first retailer point in Antananarivo. And our last objectives for the mid-May, or for second or first of week of May, we will launch our B2B and B2C product line with branded packaging, because now we have already made B2B sale, but with what packagings? Like we are under the program of TECA, so we working on our packaging to improve our branded. So we donated. I will show you later our packagings, but by the early of May, we will sell our product with packagings and expanding our market reach. Next, I will not, next please, I will not, yeah, this one. Like I told before, I have our packaging, which is the pictures. The first and second is for our Premium Plus for the B2B market and for the restaurant market. And the third and fourth.
Daniela, sorry for cutting you, but we are running out of time. So if you just summarize and then we'll go to discussion. Thank you.
I thought I have 10 minutes.
Almost 10 minutes.
Okay, so like I thought, no, we will sell it for first under Madagascar for restaurant and food serving business, and for tourists, and then B2C. And in 3 years, we will sell it outside of Madagascar. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next. Yeah, we have also our climate angle. No, before this, please. Yeah, we have also our climate angle. We have this this line of adaptability, biodiversity, and carbon reduce for food wastes, and biodiversity for reducing post-harvest loss, and tackling overfishings, and by marine protections. And through the adaptability, we have the increase of consumption of the fish. And we work under 1, 3, and 14th ODD. Next slide, please. We are free in a team with a free passionate on blue and green economy teams, myself, and we have Mami, our COO, and we have Julia, our CFO. So, but like I skipped some of my slides. If you have questions, I am here willing to answer you, or I can also share our slides, my presentation, so you can read more about Madafia. As no, like I know I have a French accent. Maybe some of you don't understand what I'm saying, so I am willing to share my presentations and share my email, so you can reach to me after this webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Daniela, and thanks also for keeping your time. And I'll say that it's an amazing, amazing presentation and the work you've done and which you're doing, because the most important thing is feeding the population we have over there in Africa, and you are really putting your boots on the ground and getting that done in Madagascar. So without getting into too much talk at the moment, we don't have much time, but I would like us to claim our 5 minutes, which we lost at the beginning. So we'll try to do that at the moment and then try to go with the questions really quick. And if you have a question, please just put it in the Q&A section. But I'll go ahead with just a few questions of my own while waiting for others to ask. So first, I'll start with Anna. Your presentation, I still can't get it off my mind. Like, where did this whole idea originate from? Because the kind of work which you're doing and helping these young people to bring up these amazing ideas, because the ideas are there, but the support has not been there always. So where did this come from?
Very interesting question, Anthony. Actually, the TECA program was born as a larger component of a bigger program, which we call Catalyzing Climate Resilience, which is the bigger CCR program. And that actually was a result of initially Catalyst Fund, which in the table that I shared, you must have seen Catalyst Fund was at the further end. A few years ago, Catalyst Fund was struggling to find the right startups within the space of climate resilience and adaptation. They weren't enough, they felt, that were coming out and were meeting the standards that were needed to be investor ready. So that actually is what bore the idea to create TECA, which now was intended to be a venture launcher that would help catalyze these different young entrepreneurs across the continent who have fantastic ideas and inspiring solutions that they want to bring into life, and start creating a pipeline that would now hopefully result in a funnel that would have more solutions developed and that grow within the climate resilience and adaptation space.
Thank you very much. And a very quick second question. I didn't know of TECA before. That means a lot of people haven't heard of TECA. Now, the question is, how can the numerous young people out there get to know about TECA and engage with you? And
yes.
Yeah.
I love that. So actually, TECA has a website, and we also have a community platform on LinkedIn, which is called the TECA community. So all the young people who have an interesting idea and are interested in the space of climate, please do join the community. And we have a website, which I can quickly link in the chat, but you can just go and search for. Give me 1 second. Let me get the exact language. It's bfaglobal.com. Can I quickly share my screen to show? They can just come to this website, BFA Global, triggering BFA.
Could you please share on the chat, please?
Will do.
Oh,
and also a section there where they can put in any inquiries that they have. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you very much. And I'll move directly to Clinton. Clinton, I have a lot of questions for you, but I'll come back to them later, first privately. But one thing I want to ask in this case, right, in your project, is there a mechanism by which you've put in place to ensure that there's no exploitation of the farmers? I'm asking this because I come from a country where cocoa is a big thing, but there's been a lot of exploitation of cocoa farmers over the years. And what you're doing is like you're putting yourself at the center and you're bringing all of these stakeholders to the fishery sector. And how are you going to ensure that these people are not exploited and they're getting the fair share of what they are working for?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Anthony. It's a fair question. I think when we first started our business, we had like some horror stories from farmers. So if you have a sense of the kind of aquaculture that happens in Kenya, it's mainly you're doing like pond or like cage farming in Lake Victoria. So a farmer would tell you, I got a call from a trader. They told me that they're going to give me a certain price for my fish. I harvest all my fish. They show up, they change their mind, right? But they've changed my mind. I've already harvested my fish. It's not like I can put them back in the pond. I now need to sell them, right? And because I don't have cold chain, I have to basically sell it off at a really bad price so that I can just sort of like recover my costs at the very least, right? And there's a lot of trust. There's a lot of trust issues in the market generally. And for us, I think what we have seen is, I keep telling my team that the most important kind of impact we can have is put money in farmers' pockets, right? And that's also the way you build trust, right? Because unfortunately, what we have seen in especially the fish space is there has been like a lot of NGO and non-profit work in aquaculture and fish in Kenya. And generally the way it works is, hey, I show up as an NGO, I give farmers feed, I give them fingerlings. The farmers have fish in 6 months, they have nowhere to sell them. So I've just doubled their problem. The problem they had last season, I just doubled it because now they have a lot more fish that don't have a market to go. to sell it to. So when we asked ourselves, okay, while there's a fish deficit, is that where we want to start, by getting farmers to produce more fish? No. We want to build trust by helping them sell the fish they already have, because that's the biggest bottleneck at the moment, because it starts by them, us sort of like more money flowing through the value chain by an anchor person, sort of like buying all of this fish and getting it to market. What's also really interesting for us as well is the level of visibility that we give also like our farmers, where they're able to see also like the price that we are selling in the market, right? They can see wholesale prices that Samaking is selling their fish like in the final market on the other end, because from our perspective, there's nothing to hide, right? They're going to find that they have ways of finding out anyway, right? So why not just be transparent, like, or from the get-go? So we try to be like a super transparent, as transparent as possible. And what we've come to realize is, if you get money flowing through the value chain, a lot of these problems, just people will solve them themselves. They will find the feed, they'll find the fingerlings, put money in farmers' pockets. That's sort of like our mantra. Yeah.
Perfect. Hey, that's really good. That's really good, and it's a perfect answer. And I'll say, I won't ask you another question, but I'll just say, please put your link and your website and every other information on the chat so that others can get in touch with you and maybe get things going, right? Okay, thank you very much. I have one question for Daniela, but that question also links to Clinton. So we have 3 more minutes, and I want us to go really quick. I see a lot of overlap here between your 2 projects. Have you thought of the idea of working together, sharing ideas, sharing information, and just getting each other better in some way? Daniela, you can go first. Please, 1 minute.
Okay. Honestly, me and Clinton, we talk about our project, but now as Madafia focus internally, and like the technology here in Madagascar is not so high than in Kenya or in other South African country. So we need to set first the mechanism without technology for a while. And then when it's done, it's okay. That's when we add technology. Because there is many village where no access to internet at all. So
Right.
it's a bit difficult for us to, at our stage, to add something like Samaking do.
Thank
But
you.
for the
Thank you very
future, we
much.
will.
Okay, that's good. And I know that Clinton also has something to say about this, but maybe you can put it on the chat, or if someone else wants to know more, you can get to Clinton. I'll go directly to Khiusha. Khiusha, I have one question for you. I want to find out first. I know that you're probably from an urban management background, right?
Yes.
But to have the kind of idea which you have to develop solutions, because even we have lots of leaders in Africa who haven't even thought about this kind of solutions. So how did this idea come about, and how do you make sure that the local people can pay for this kind of innovations? Because I see the prices. Our local people will not be able to afford that if they construct the house. So in 1 minute, can you please just give us a brief answer to that question?
Yes, firstly, this was development of my master thesis. I focused on sustainable drainage system, and I assessed the potential, the economic impact, environmental impact, and social impact of having these sort of solutions. I'm not inventing the wheel here. These are both solutions that exist for a while already. But what we've done at Bassile is to go a little bit further in innovating in the materials we apply and in how to boost the capacity to filter and to store water in both solutions. And I hear you about the cost of it. I am hoping that with time and with scaling up, the cost will reduce. But for now, what we focus on is, probably you saw in the client we are targeting, we focus on financial and humanitarian aid institutions that invest in urban infrastructure here in Mozambique, that will be able to deploy these solutions to low-income communities, especially because given the current state of our government and the lack of internal funding to deploy more infrastructure, this is something that already happens. Most of the infrastructure, the urban infrastructure being built, is funded by financial aid institutions or humanitarian aid institutions. So we are targeting this sector.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, thank you very much. I think we've come to the end. Unfortunately, it's just an hour. We could go on for another day, but unfortunately, I hope that we can keep this discussion going. And please keep up the amazing work you're doing. And I hope that you put your information on the chat so that others can engage with you. Personally, I would engage with all of you. And we have to, because I do a lot of projects as well as lots of other things that kind of overlap with what you are doing. And I think it's time for us to really come together as young people and take the mantle and start providing those solutions rather than always sit and wait for aid to come from somewhere and solve our problems. All right, thank you very much, and grateful to Center for this opportunity to moderate this and also to get you all to share your stories. And I hope that we can have another opportunity next time. Thank you, and I think we come to the end of this webinar. Okay, have a good evening, all of you.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Perfect. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much, all of you, for
Thank you.
the webinar. And if you have any